to the NES Godzilla creepypasta Chapter 5, Entropy, Part 2. After that, the game went back to the board screen. It was all that I could do not to burst out screaming, and my hands were shaking so bad that I could barely hold my controller. I knew the game was going to test me if I kept playing, but I had no idea it would go so far, or that it could feel my brain going haywire after I asked myself, did the game just read my mind? That didn't seem possible, but what other explanation was there? It was then that I could no longer deny what seemed obvious. This game is live, and not only that, uh, not only that, uh, not only that, it also can establish some kind of mental connection with the player. And yet I couldn't convince myself to stop playing. I don't know if the game messing with my mind, or just my stubborn curiosity. Even with the previous revelation, I really wanted to see this through to the end, even more than I did before I beat dementia. Terrifying as it might be, even dangerous, I knew that if I quit playing, I'll never be able to stop thinking about it. If I try to restart the game to be normal again, how many people ever get back to witness some in this like this firsthand, let alone be able to take screenshots of the whole thing. Take the best it was, this was the experience of a lifetime. But even so, I couldn't take any chances with my health. I had the TV remote right next to me, ready to turn off the TV in case I felt I was in actual danger. And if that didn't work, I would pull the plug out the wall, or just run out of the room. Surely that would be enough. Whatever powers the game has, it seemed to be confined to what I can show on the TV, and whatever its mental condition would do, the latter was that word. I still don't know what I was dealing with, so I wasn't about to underestimate it. I took a break for a few minutes to calm my nerves, and then was back to the game. And speaking of TVs, there was a TV icon right below the white forest I had just left. And because the first animation was so bizarre, I figured I'd try another one to see what happens. Although I expect the same animation, I actually got a totally different one. Weird. The music for this one was the Neptune board music. Fitting, I suppose, since it's sufficient. Oh, I can't help but wonder, what's the point of these things? There were one more TV icon, so I figure it must be a unique animation. So, after going to see as before I left them, still, not for another cold brick icon was the closest thing. So I went to that. I started up in a gold labyrinth. My help and power failed. Not sure how or why, but I was glad he hanging into the unknown nearly. Glad not to be heading into the unknown nearly dead. But I noticed that my monster's brain has shrunk to half its original size. The music was slow, ominous, jumpy. Email vocals kicking in about a minute to it. Quite haunting. The gold labyrinth itself was an anomaly. I'm not sure how this level would have would point out if I was using Godzilla or Anguirus, because flying seemed necessary just to get around this place. Another thing that caught my attention was when you go left, your monster actually turns and faces the left. That sounds stupidly obvious, but in the original games you were supposed to move to the right. So when you tried to move left, monsters ended up walking / flying backwards. This level was apparently gigantic in size. It's because every time I thought I'd reach an end to it, or if I was going to end up right back where I started, I encountered something totally new. Things like lava blockades, and new enemies, statue bases. And I found this one statue at the face at the end and wide open stare. And Melissa tied and she had an expression exactly like this the whole time. Even when she got hit by the truck, she still had that same expression. I can't help but feel something really is staring at me behind the screen when I look at this. I didn't want to be reminded of that night anymore. Left the statue as soon as I found it. I need to find the exit anyway, which proved to be no simple task. It felt like this level stretched on forever in all different directions. I must have wandered around on a level for at least 15 minutes before I finally saw something. It was a creature that wasn't gold, seemingly the only one. Its kind of level lacking any kind of hover ability like the other creatures. It just walked back and forth on the platform, but it wasn't long until I found that flying machine that swooped down, grabbed it, and then flew off with it. The machine apparently not seen me, so I decided to follow it to see where it was taking the creature. The machine stopped. The room was large, cauldron, gaunt at the center. The machine hovered to its cauldron and dropped the creature. The creature came emerged from a hole in the cauldron side, now adorned the same gold color as everything else. The machine flew off. I'm not really sure what to make of this, but I'm glad I came upon it, because I found the exit soon after. When I got back to the board, I realized that the bosses hadn't moved at all. A bit odd, but it didn't bother me. It made planning my route through entropy easier. There were still 2 new icons to explore: Indigo Cliffs and the black version of the labyrinth. Since there were only 3 black labyrinth icons which are surrounded by bosses, I played the Indigo Cliffs first. It was a lot like the blue-green mountains. The level graphics had the same shredded look to it. There's also a free color of the clouds and the moon from the toxic waste dump. The music, if you can call it that, was merely a deep rumbling noise. One of the first things I encountered was these multicolored creatures with big heads emerging from a small cave in the ground. They all made a cross-eyed shaking sound, and they walked right in a group after emerging from the cave, ignoring me. Having no other way to go, I followed them on their route. More and more emerged from the cave, till the group found the creatures eventually halfway underneath the cliff. I was shocked to see that upon reaching the cliff, all the creatures began jumping into the abyss. I've seen enemies walk off quickly before, but I've never seen NPCs commit mass suicide like this. Very unsettling way to start off a level. I continue on flying over very strange animals, like the one shown here. Another group of multicolored bobbers were jumping up and down, only to be snatched up by large birds, which I'm fairly certain are sprite versions of the giant condor from Godzilla and the Sea Monster versus the Sea Monster. I defeat some of the condors in battle, but bothered me that these bobbleheads seem to be so eager to die if the game itself is alive. Perhaps the creatures in these levels are also alive. Some have very unhappy lives. If this behavior is any indication, but what provokes them to do this? Back in my mind, I suspect that the glowing moon disguised the reason. At the end of the level, I saw another group marching up to a large monster being devoured. This was starting to disgust me, so acting on impulse, I fired off lightning at both the monster and the bobbleheads. I destroyed the cave. The monster became angry, and ran through the remaining bobbleheads to fight me. Although it lacked any ranged attacks, it was relentless, but it was no match for me. I was in the home stretch now, up to the ball. My plan was to go through battle first, then Megalodon. Go on. After that, go watch the last TV screen playing about a black gorilla before fighting Mega Godzilla, and lastly going through the chase with the heck beast. I was curious to see if it would be in a new form again. But first things first, time to beat up better. As I expected, he started off in his larva form. The music was for Ant's theme. Whenever the game puts in a new Godzilla kaiju with more than form, that other form always shows up. For a game that's otherwise inexplicable. That's otherwise inexplicable. Maybe it's rather startling in its consistency and accuracy with the new kaiju bosses. The fight started off simple, larva batter fought in a similar fashion as magma, charging back and forth occasionally, firing off lightning from its horn. During the fight, I noticed that Mothra's combat capabilities have been altered in my favor. 1. The eye beams did as much damage as they did originally. The eye beams did 2 times as much damage as they did originally. Now they were strong as Godzilla's punches. The poison powder were similarly improved. It was also this nice thing where it would actually hit an enemy when you used it. In the original game, even though Mothra could fly, she was unable to fly over an opponent. You would get knocked back the same way. You just ran straight into them, which was extremely annoying. But not anymore. I could change direction and fly around, which was a big help because fighting immature battle is much like fighting a clone Mothra. Although that is distinctly faster, stronger, no longer slow moving. far before. Image battle was a fearsome opponent. Although it lacked at the horn lightning, now had a new, more powerful eye beam. Batter could change direction just like I could. So this battle, with a lot of flipping and flying around, it was pretty dang fun, to be honest. So after defeating Battle Rap, I was excited to see what Megalon would be like. But first I went to an Indigo Cliffs level and shot through creatures and just health power-ups. So about Megalon. His music was Gaigan's theme. Makes sense since Gaigan was his battle partner, Megalon's one. And so far only film appearance. So far only film appearance. He was a lot like Mogira, but faster, with more weapons. He started out charging off his drills. I like to fly back and forth around, which seemed really annoying. After a few seconds, he stepped back, turned around, and started spitting out grenades. Those were a pain because they bounce when they hit the ground. Lastly, he started spamming his lightning beam. It only went straight forward, so it was easy to duck under it and then shoot the eye beams. Overall, I describe him as strong, persistent, but dumb. I was now nearing the end of entropy. I had just taken down Megalon, and I started up the last TV screen. So I get this time. The result was unpleasant. The music for this gruesome scene was a password theme. I couldn't figure out why this animation was so sinister and violent in comparison to the other two. The whole game seemed to be growing more malevolent. As I went on to finish entropy, again the feel drained. It's hard to describe. Like I had suddenly became tired and I wasn't before. Most likely it was just the tension of all that happened in this game getting to me. But who knows? The last level type on entropy is what I call the Shaolin Labyrinth. The scenery was recovered from the cold black. It was an evil element. It similar to the unforgiving cold loop, but distinctly different. The music was my first sign that it was going to be distressing. I traveled through the maze for about a minute, and I noticed there weren't any creatures hovering around. It was an odd transition. Boulder Labyrinth, which was overrun with creatures. On this level, that had none at all. But then this might be a good thing, because maybe there wouldn't be any obstacles, and I should head through the level with me. And the screen went dark. And immediately I snapped out my daze. A few seconds earlier, everything had been dark. The only thing I could see was my I couldn't tell. Where I was going. I ended up frantically running into walls. I heard a noise. It sounded like a crowd running through. Oh, I came roars, roaring doors. Scrambled something like a rabid dog the size of an elephant, screaming with fury. And I could tell when everyone was making this noise, they were lost. I knew there was some there, but it wasn't until I did some screen cap editing I got to see what my pursuers look like. see where where I was going. I was literally running blind, and this mob beast eventually caught up. All I could think of was no, as I saw my life rapidly declining. The monsters had taken me down to half of my total health. I saved the light. Went back on. The light came back on. Attackers disappeared. And so the challenge of this level was revealed. Find the exit before the lights go out and a pack of monsters. Before the lights go out and a pack of monsters maul you to death. I was in panic mode now, moving as fast as I go. I was trying every path I could find for a way out. As I played through the level, the white lights went out, and total 3 times. The second time, I would be dead. And me, and not been for the white-eyed statues. As I stayed close with the monsters, seemed to avoid me until the light came back. The statue warded them away somehow. I was safe as long as I stayed near the statue, but at the same time, I had to leave to find the exit. The Shaolin Labyrinth turned out to be much smaller than the Gold Labyrinth, as it only took 6 minutes to navigate to the end. But before the exit, there was a row of halls leading to the end. Before the exit, before the exit, there was a row of halls straight down. No way out once entered. Either got to the exit before the monsters reached you. You got to the exit before the monsters reached you, or you died. Thankfully, I made it out. Only one more boss, Godzilla. Start to battle. I got unexpected. Not only my life, I will shoot back to 100% again. Seems to do that randomly, but instead of a replacement boss, I was fighting Godzilla. But anyway, Godzilla. Oh, fan of Earth, their salt can figure this out. Like a Godzilla started off like fighting cloned Godzilla, but his disguise burned away after only 3 life bars. Usually a transformation occurred at the halfway point. At this point, it was like fighting Godzilla in a normal game. Felt kinda nice to fight. I allowed the original game enemies for a change. Although he wasn't exactly like normal, he had also a rainbow aim finger missiles. This prevented me from doing the old trick of backing him in the corner and hitting him eye beams to the spot where he can't hit me. But that was always a cheap trick anyways. But after getting down to half health, something weird started to happen. His sprite started to glitch in the same way as Godzilla had way back in the first world. After a few seconds, the glitches began to form a new shape. And thus the game is created not Mechagodzilla. And I discovered that this visual glitch was somehow related to the game recreating things. The human face on this one gives a very uncanny look. It was one of the stronger replacement monsters. It had the most firepower. Pictured here is my Alfbeam, which I caught in the middle of. Even though it was a bit stronger, it was also slower than its original counterpart. And couldn't jump around as much. I won the fight by constantly staying out of the line of fire, bombarding the machine with poison powder. Flew over it. One last thing to do, the heck beast chase. Oh boy, might as well get over with. If I fought. The entropy and ended up being exactly what I was afraid it would be, a labyrinth level. All the other chases, although difficult, were extremely straightforward. You just had to run right and not get touched. But this one took all the simplicity out of it. There were no telling how big this labyrinth would be or where the exit was, and not only did, and and I had to constantly backtrack to find my way out. And I also had to avoid getting killed by the red monster. And for the first 30 seconds, it didn't show up. But I knew. Started picking up the pace. I heard a loud flapping noise, and there I was in a flying form. It flew with a bat-like wings, and it was fast. It was as fast, as relentless as ever. For a reason, this was probably the most nerve-wracking of all the end chases. So, and as such, I had to keep my focus on the game and not taking screen caps. However, I did take one of raccoons, and I found it very interesting. I managed to lose it by going through path and block. Attacked me by one again, and close from the red map. So I fought. Lose it by going through different paths. Expected and attack. Get close from the red map. Before I fought. He tried crawling through the wall. Second before opening up his mouth. Up and tearing the wall apart. Intense controls. But those brief milliseconds that the monster was held back might even been the key to finding the exit. The path out to the exit was long and complex, but from what I remember, I went up and back towards the left. I'm still not sure why I chose that particular way. Just a lucky hunch, I suppose. I was sweating profusely, but my luck has saved me yet again. I hope that enough before I finish the game. Only 2 more worlds to go. Next up in unit